Quiet on set. Hi, everybody. I think we're live. We live?
I don't know.
Okay, I guess we're live.
I'm not looking at the camera.
Yeah, all right, so there's a delay for Kelly. Hi, everyone. Happy Meatshower Day. It's your old pal Mick Sullivan here. I'm here at Foxing Books, and I want to thank my friend Kelly Nuz for her able support. She's going to be monitoring the feed, and she has a couple questions, but if there's any questions out there from you along the way, we'll save some time at the end. I hope that you've had a chance, maybe not because I just released it yesterday, but I hope that you've had a chance to listen to the new episode, the Meatshower Part 2, which I called Electric Burgoo. I don't know if anyone from Kentucky, anyone not from Kentucky knows what burgoo is, but it's like a barbecue soup or something. Yeah, something like that. It's just kind of a joke. All right, so, well, it looks like we've got quite a few people, so we'll go ahead, and this is the 5th anniversary.
I'm hearing it in here.
You're not, we don't have audio? We have an audio problem?
I'm not hearing it in the...
Can I hear it?
Yep.
Oh, it's because you have it muted,
Oh.
Kelly.
Sorry. Bad audio person.
All right.
What was it?
Yeah, we're just going to roll with it, you
What
guys.
was it?
It sounds great now.
All right, great. Good. All right, cool. All right, so I think this is the 5th year in a row that we have done this. And first off, I do want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to thank you all for listening to the podcast. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. And it's fun because my kids are here today, and my wife. So, yeah, you'll see them at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and get started with the Meatshower. Maybe you've got your copy of the book up. You can read along or not, or you don't have it. But March 3rd, let's go. The Meatshower, the mostly true tale of an odd and somewhat edible occurrence by Mick Sullivan, with illustrations by Shay Goodlett. Shay is amazing. All right, here we go. It's just a fact. Sometimes strange things happen, and you're most certainly going to think that this story is strange. But it's a tale as true as the leaves in the trees. Why, it's as real as this very jar on this very shelf, the same one that I call home. Maybe you've heard about that famous tsunami of Sticky, the Great Molasses Disaster, as it's known. That was unusual, but easy to explain. A giant storage tank exploded and sent a tidal wave of gooey brown sweetness slowly creeping across the streets of Boston. Or through the streets of Boston, if you're reading along and you want to correct my mistakes. Or there was that time that a giant flock of birds just plumb fell right out of the sky with nothing more than a thunder of thuds on the ground. Some folks call that one the Louisiana blackbird tragedy. Believe it or not, something similar has happened with frogs, or so I've heard. But if you're really looking for something strange, I'll tell you. There's nothing quite like what happened in the little town of Olympia Springs, Kentucky, one March day in 1876. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but it's the reason I'm here, so I'm going to tell you anyway.
Let me see the picture.
Oh, sorry.
Show us how to
I need to show them the pictures too. Mrs. Crouch was gathering supplies to make a batch of soap. It was a hot, smelly job, so she typically worked in the yard, and the weather seemed to be perfect for the task. Before she opened the door, she heard a sound from above her, the roof above her. At first, she thought it was a spring shower, but it didn't sound quite like the rain she knew. It fell at odd times, not the steady, gentle pity-pat of a shower's first raindrops. It was a heavy, flat sound, a soft thunk against her old tin roof. Thunk, 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 thunk.
I always like that part.
It's a good part. This is one of my favorite illustrations right here. Out of the window, she saw nothing unusual. Then she heard a few more thunks. Stepping outside, she looked around to see what could be making such a strange sound. And as she looked up, she felt it. It smacked her face with a sloppy slap and slid, slimy and slow, down the soft skin on the side of her face. She caught her breath and then broke the silence with a shriek. Would someone like to shriek?
I don't know if that's a shriek.
Ah! Sorry about your ears there, Kelly. Her husband, kindly Mr. Crouch, came running from the barn as she screamed, "I got hit in the face with a piece of meat!" Now, as matter-of-factly as someone can be in such a peculiar situation, her dear husband calmly replied with a smile, "I know! There's meat falling all over the place. It's a meat shower." "A meat shower?" she screamed. "There's no such thing. Meat doesn't fall from the sky." Now, that is most generally true. Meat does not normally fall from the sky, but that day Mrs. Crouch was wrong. On the 3rd of March in 1876, in the little town of Olympia Springs, meat did fall from the sky. And before long, the neighbors gathered on the Crouch's porch, confused and excited. A few carried umbrellas, someone was toting a shovel, and another had a rake. Ben was the last to arrive. Excited, hungry, and ready to make the best of the shower. Okay. Okay. Pointing with pride to the pail in his hand, he exclaimed, "Look, it's full of meat rain. Guess what's for dinner tonight?" This idea horrified Mrs. Crouch. "Ben, I think that's a terrible idea. You shouldn't eat meat that fell out of the sky. You don't even know what it is or where it came from. What if it makes you sick?" "Please," she begged, "empty that pail of meat." She was probably right, but Ben saved a little just in case it was delicious. Like all normal showers, this strange meat shower eventually came to an end. And now, perplexed by the strange chunks scattered about, the people of Olympia Springs set about to solve the mystery. But they would not be alone. The next morning, newspapers from the Carolinas to California ran the story. No one had ever heard of such a bizarre happening. It was the talk of the nation, and before long the place was crawling with scientists, meteorologists, and butchers. Everyone was hungry for an explanation to the mysterious meat from the sky. Specimens were packed up and sent to labs all over the country, while in Olympia Springs people guessed and gossiped and waited for an answer. One scientist said he thought it was horse meat. I guess he thought a horse just up and exploded, shooting meat all over the place. Can you imagine? Not likely if you ask me, and besides, no one in town reported missing any horses. Another scientist speculated that the meat shower was the product of a kettle of vultures, which is the name for a flock of vultures in flight. In this hypothesis, a big group of those birds had just feasted on a giant meal, and when they started to fly, one of them realized he had eaten too much, and if he was going to stay in the air, well, he had to get rid of some of that meat. And here's the thing about vultures. If one of them barfs, they all barf. Blah. This is my favorite illustration. Yes.
I think that's my...
This one was the most fun. In the end, Mrs. Crouch and the townspeople never heard an explanation that satisfied them. While the scientific specimens disappeared and most of the remains were thrown away or eaten by Ben, the town wondered, waited, and watched the skies, hoping another meat shower would leave better evidence. After a while, life went back to normal, and the meat shower remained a point of pride in Olympia Springs, Kentucky. But people everywhere else soon forgot about that strange, unexplainable day. Not me. I can't think of anything else. Of course, today, Mr. and Mrs. Crouch, Hungry Ben, and all the curious townsfolk are a distant memory. But I'm still here. I remember hitting the ground, surrounded by all the others. But I don't have the foggiest memory of what happened before that. All I can do is wonder as I stew in a dusty old jar on a museum shelf. Once I was in newspapers from California to Carolina, but to the few who even notice me today, I'm little more than a curiosity. They squint their eyes and wrinkle their noses before they move on. Maybe meat will never fall from the sky again, but I still pray someone curious and clever is struck by that distant, fateful March day and is hungry to solve my mystery. Where there is mystery, there is hope, and as you've already clearly seen, anything can happen. So do me a favor and check the weather for tomorrow. I wonder if it's going to rain. And that's the meat shower. Oh, thank you. That would be one of my children. All right. So I'm going to hang out for a few minutes. I think Kelly had a couple questions. You can, go sit down. Go sit down, and you'll be back. I'll bring you back. We'll close out the show with you, okay? Thank you all for joining us. Thanks. I hope you enjoy that. I greatly appreciate celebrating the meat shower every year. It's become a tradition. It's very important to me. Question, Kelly?
Well, first I just wanted to relay some comments that you're getting, that happy 5th anniversary
Oh, great, yes.
of reading the meat shower.
Yes, happy 5th.
And happy meat shower day, and a lot of people are joining us here.
We're going to make meat shower day a thing, aren't we? Let's do it, everybody.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned at the top of the show about a new specimen being found, a new meat specimen.
Yes, it's correct. And if you haven't heard the new episode, which I released yesterday morning, it goes into great detail because last summer, a man in New York who's a retired professor, and he's very into microscopes. He's a biologist. He emailed me because he had found out about the book and said that he had a new specimen, and he put it on display in a library on Long Island, so pretty far east of New York City. And he bought like 5 copies of the book to have for people to check out when they were looking at the specimen. But I was, it was such a peculiar thing to hear. And I talked to some people at Transylvania University, which is it's where the original piece of meat that is the narrator of the story has been housed, and everything checked out. And then I had more conversations with this man, Frank Reiser, and he knows so much and has done so much great research, and it's totally bizarre because he found this specimen. It's on a glass slide, to look at on a microscope, just a little red dot, and it's lung tissue, as he has clearly determined, and he was able to check through all the historic record because it was passed around from scientists in the 1870s when they were trying to figure out what it was. And the way that scientists would do things like this is they would write and they would notate, and if it went to a society, they would publish journals. And he found 22 or 23 different things that were connected to this microscopic slide. So it's absolutely well proven. It's very well documented. Which is, it's very bizarre that in our lifetimes, the time that we've been paying attention to the meat shower, a new specimen has appeared. And he found it on eBay, of all places, which is amazing.
Do you look for meat specimens? Just curious, quickly curious. Do you ever shop for meat specimens?
I have never gone shopping for meat specimens. However, if I were to come across one, I would not buy it personally. Because of my work at the museum here in Louisville, the Fraser History Museum, we would love to have a specimen of the meat. So if anyone out there comes across a specimen of the Kentucky Meatshower, you think about me and then you think about the Fraser History Museum, because we would love to have that. But no, I haven't gone looking. Yeah, I'm not going to bring it to our house.
So quick question in our comments. Do you know if the original meat sample has been re-examined since you wrote the book?
That's a great question. Actually, around the time that I wrote the book, they said that, so we had the specimen at the museum. So it came from Lexington, Kentucky to Louisville. And we had it on display. And there was a chance that we weren't going to get it in time for the book release party because the way that it was explained to me was that it was in England, I think London, to be gene sequenced. It was they couldn't determine anything from it. I guess maybe because of the chemicals that it's been sitting in for that long. So we don't know. But of the ones that were documented, the only one that is physical of these slides, there were other slides that Frank found record of. There were different. It was different. You know, it was like throat tissue and muscle tissue. His was lung. So that's kind of all we know. It's meat. That's all we know. We don't know exactly what it is. But the bigger mystery to me is where did it come from? I guess really that's where the meat of the matter is, as you would say. I guess.
True.
Yes.
Quick question from Luca, age 8.
Okay, Luca, age 8.
Wants to know how old you are.
Oh, I think I'm 42. Is that right? Am I 42?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you-
Okay. Thanks.
Wait, yeah, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're 1 year old.
Checks out.
Yeah, I just fact checked it. That's right. Let's see here. Sorry, reading the comments real quick. Oh, how did you find out about the meat shower?
Good question. A lot of people do this thing. I've done it. You've probably done it, where you want to know what happened on your birthday. And I have a lot of friends whose birthday is today. My friend Megan, her birthday is today, and my really good friend John, who I saw this morning, his birthday is today. And one time we were out at dinner, and he was like, "Hey, check out this thing that happened on my birthday. It's called the Kentucky Meatshower." So that's how I found out.
That's a fun story. What is your theory on what the meat was?
Yeah. I'm Team Vulture. I've always been Team Vulture. I think that's what it is. If you listen to the episode, Frank has thought more about how a vulture type scenario would actually play out from a biological standpoint, which I had not done. Like, he knows how much meat will fit in a vulture's stomach. And like he considered like their circling pattern and how they would have to be close to the ground. And none of that was in any of the testimony. There were no observations made from the testimony that I have seen, that I'm aware of. But that's the only thing I can think of, because in the 1870s, there was nothing in the sky other than birds. And there were no reports of inclement weather. It's not like there was a tornado or anything. So the vulture's the only scenario that makes sense to me.
Somebody wants to know, like, do you know what time the meat shower occurred? Like, was
Yeah,
it afternoon?
I think it
morning?
was in the afternoon. I think I want to say it was between 11 and 12. Like, I think I saw that in one of Frank's things this week. But it was in the afternoon. I mean, she was, midday at working. And actually, I think, according to the reports, her grandson was with her too, like assisting whatever, making the soap or whatever, just, playing in the area. So yeah, that's about when I think it was.
And with the episode was just released yesterday, the new one about you talking to the scientist who found the meat?
Yes.
That came out yesterday.
That episode came out yesterday, and it's an unusual episode because I don't normally have like an interview portion, but he and I talked on Zoom for about 50 minutes, and it was a great conversation. We talked about all sorts of stuff because he's a really smart guy. I had no idea like the depth of like antique slide collecting and like what was available and how robust like that historic record was. So that was really enlightening, but also it was fun to talk about this and get his impressions as like a biologist and an educator, and he had clearly spent a lot of time thinking through it. I think he bought the slide a long time ago, and it was just upon retirement that he had the time to kind of investigate what he was doing. But the episode is in the feed. It should be in your iTunes or Spotify or however you listen, or it's on the website. I put it up there yesterday morning. Yeah.
Alyssa, age 9, just wants to say that she really likes your beard.
Oh, thanks, Alyssa, age 9. Yeah.
And so people really ate the meat.
Yeah, I mean, there are some newspaper articles from the time period, because it was big news, right? So, New York Times covered it, and then also the New York Herald, which the New York Herald was a little bit more of what in the day was referred to as yellow journalism. It was really like over the top, and they made it probably more dramatic than a news source should make things. But it does recount several people, including a man named Benjamin, I can't think of his last name, eating it. And he had worked as a guide in the West, like a hunting guide. And so he had eaten everything, according to him. And so he said it was bear meat. But we don't know. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I don't think he was the only person to try it, but he is on the record as having tasted it. Yes.
So I think a good question to end with, which a few people have asked, would you have eaten the meat?
Oh, I don't think I would have. No, I don't think I would have eaten the meat.
You think I would eat the
I'm certain you wouldn't have eaten the meat. Your brother might have, but you would not.
I would definitely not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect you to.
I'd rather eat
Here, do you want to come on now?
ice cream with pickles inside of it. than
Okay, well, come here, ice cream pickle boy.
with boogers, pickles, and
Okay.
throw up in it.
Okay, yeah, that's my kid. He got this, here you go, Alyssa. He got this switchblade comb so I can brush my beard with it.
No, it's mine.
Oh, okay.
For all my hair.
Okay, all right. Thank you all so much. I really am appreciative of you joining and also, enjoying the podcast and continuing to listen. It means a lot to me because it's a whole lot of fun to do. If you are anywhere near Boston, I'm excited to say that I'm going to be back there for the WBUR podcast Playdate. It's going to be I'm going to be on Saturday this year at noon. I think tickets go on sale this coming Thursday. So it's spring break up there. It's the week after spring break here. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I had a blast last year. I'm going to put together a new program, probably have a musician friend up there join me for a couple of songs. So it's Saturday, April 20th, I will be on. And I think Greeking Out is going to be there that day. And the Big Fib. So it'll be the Big Fib, me, and then Greeking Out. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I had a blast last year. So if you're anywhere near there, please come. Or if you can't, there is a virtual feed available as well. It's a different ticket price, but I'm sure that will all be on WBUR's website this coming week. Anything else, Kelly?
I think we pretty much covered everything. Real quick, last one. Avery, age 9, what is your favorite episode of The Fast and Curious?
Someone asked me that when I was in Boston. That's a hard question because that's always the one that I'm currently working on. I feel like there are ones that people have marked as their favorites. Like I think the hot dog episode is a lot of people's favorite. That was a really fun one for me because it was fun to get goofy with that. Also, the video game one is the one that I think I see get used the most, like by teachers. So that's really exciting to me. I'm not a big, like video games are cool, but it's not like a hobby of mine or anything. But I know that it was nice to like write something that was going to mean something and resonate with kids. Yeah, those are great. Those were really fun ones. And then I always like the December one where I kind of have fun with toys or candy and that sort of stuff. I like to get goofy with stuff. So the ones that I can get goofy on are always a lot of fun to work on. But it's also important to tell stories of just awesome people too. I've already got the rest of the year planned out, so I'm going to be talking about someone named Charles Young. That's going to be a really good one. We're going to talk about the history of donuts because my family and I does a regular thing with friends every year called Donut Day, so I'm going to build on that. There's a whole... We're going to do one about milk and milk sickness. There's a woman who kind of solved that, which is really awesome too. So that's a sneak preview at the few episodes ahead. But anything else?
I think We're good.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us.
I need this to brush my beard.
Not yet. All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely meat shower day. Thanks for joining, okay? Bye.